Mid-season break, people know about the pros, how they take an off season. Mid-season break is super important and I think not talked about as much. So I thought this would be a good chance to do a video with my coach who would explain it better than I could. All right. All right, thanks. We've got Frank Overton of Fascat Coaching. Do a quick plug for Fascat. Fascat Coaching, your year 20 happy anniversary.
Oh,
We've been together
thanks.
for 9 of those.
Yeah.
And this year you launched the new Optimize app.
Yeah. So 20 years ago, I thought if I could coach 10 guys at $100 a month, I could train and race full time and maybe turn professional. That didn't happen, of course. But that's how Fastcat got started. And we've been helping athletes get faster since 2003. Started working with you in 2015. And yeah, now we have developed a new training platform. It's called Optimize. You can download it in the App Store. And what makes Optimize awesome is for the first time ever, you can combine your power data with your wearable data and balance your training to recovery. And what Optimize lets you do is adjust your training day to day when maybe you haven't recovered as much as you thought, or your training stress was maybe more than what your training plan called for.
Right. There's the training plan, and then there's the reality. When those intermingle,
That's
Optimize
right.
helps you balance those. So I want to talk about the mid-season break. Folks know about the off season. Obviously the off season is to do a full recovery, reset, start at zero. The mid-season break, what's the goal of that? Why do guys do that?
The midseason break is generally comes after maybe the first A event of your season, and it really kind of breaks your season up into two parts. So it's in the middle, and the goal of it is to provide a physical and mental break from the rigors of the first half of the season in order for you to rebuild fitness and then have the sustainability, the mental energy, and to really just propel you forward in the second half of the season.
How do you decide when? I think a lot of people just, they race week to week, want to look kind of zoomed out at your whole season. So as a pro, I would sort of, you start racing January, February, and those races aren't as important, but they're still important. You train for them, they're still taxing. And then I would build up. We would have Tour of California, would be mid-May.
Yep.
The goal was always to peak for that and then hang on for dear life because Nashville's was a week later.
Yep.
So, try to keep the peak going. At that point, that's when I would shut down. So you look at like that's sort of your A. So what would that be we're talking Unbound?
A lot of athletes have their A event generally around Memorial Day. It doesn't necessarily have to be that. But generally, if you choose an A event like an Unbound, anything over Memorial Day, Tulsa Tough, Quad Cities, anything. And so you've overloaded, you've tapered, you've tried to peak for your A event, and when you get done, you're exhausted, and that's a great time to just take a break.
Right.
The one thing important to remember, and this isn't really about the break, the timing of the break, but you generally don't want to choose two A events like that close together because then you can't take a break, but you really need to. So like you wouldn't want to try to do Tour of California and then taking a break naturally after US Pro that's a natural break. But
Right.
if you were trying to do like a Fitchburg or something later on in June, taking a break after US Pro it wouldn't work. The timing is all wrong.
Right. So you sort of accept that you can't peak forever, and plan to have your two peaks and include you got to have your valleys if you're going to have your peaks.
Yeah.
So for a lot of guys, like you'll notice if you follow pros, say someone's training for the Giro and then they're not selected, like, all right, I'm going to shut it down and I'm going to do a reset and I'm going to build back up for the Tour or maybe the Vuelta or whatever goes on in the summer. So you sort of accept the reality of whatever your season can be, but zoom out and pick the right thing. So when we say mid-season break, how long are we talking? How much off the bike?
Yeah. So for amateur athletes, I generally recommend one whole week, no bike, which is hard to do. And it's very tough mentally because you're like, oh, I'm losing all this fitness. But it generally comes back fairly quick. When you do come back, it's not the dead of winter. So you can ride outside. You can generally ride longer. And yeah, so it comes back quick. But also know the length of the break is probably, it can be individualized. So like for you, you can take a whole week off because you can just train full time afterwards
Right.
and get it back. For the amateur cyclist that maybe works
You're more time crunched, yeah.
5. Yeah. I mean, a lot of athletes take the midseason break when they take that family vacation when
Mhm.
school gets out. So it's a natural fit. Um, but if you're like greedy over your training load or your CTL, or you really don't have that much time to train in the first place, like if you have like 6, 8 hours a week, taking like 3 or 4 days off may suffice for that midseason break. So it's really the length of the midseason break is probably should be proportional to how much time you have to train and yeah, your goals afterwards.
But even the folks you would say who are time crunched, who aren't doing like a full-time training schedule, whatever I'm doing and pros are doing,
Mhm.
they need a mid-season break to some point. If you're doing a peak, would you agree with
Yeah.
that?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Oftentimes just not training over the weekend really helps. So you just have like a normal weekend, like normal people that aren't cyclists like us. So if you just take like Friday, Saturday, Sunday, Monday off, you're super refreshed and you're ready to get back to training. And it was just 4 days, and
Right.
like your family's happy you didn't ride your bike over the weekend, and maybe you did like a little mini vacation or something.
Got it. So that's the next thing is when you're on the break, what do you do? Is it like obviously you can't just be sedentary.
Mhm.
You want to do like any kind of active recovery as a walk, a hike, and then it gets into like you're not doing a
Mhm.
half marathon, right? So what's the governor?
Well, I think you said the key word right there, productive. The whole point of a break is to kind of let go of being productive and not be productive, just kind of like chill out. And, we get this question a lot, can I run? And the answer is no, because generally
If you're
cyclists
being chased by a bear, let him eat you.
run.
Just let
Yeah.
it go. Uh,
Generally, we cyclists, if we run, we injure ourselves. So don't run.
Yeah, no, running is more taxing for like as much as I want to like, oh, I'm not riding a bike, but running is definitely harder on my body than riding a bike because I'm used to the ladder. But
Yeah.
like a little walk, something like that. But I think it's easy to be like, oh, I have a free week. Let me do a house project. And there's some self-control required to like actually, put a nap in my schedule. Like make sure I check that
Yeah.
box.
House projects, that's a different kind of stress.
Mhm.
Maybe that's gonna be okay. But yeah, generally I like for athletes. So we talk a lot about life balance, and what you're doing from a break is you maybe have been unbalanced from riding and training so much and racing, and the other parts of your life were not balanced out. So when you
Right.
take a break, you're balancing them out, and that could be doing a ride with your partner, or spending time with your family, or
So
uh
it's chill to go to the beach with the kids or the hypothetical
yeah,
dog. I don't know where my dog went.
yeah,
Oh,
taking the dog on longer dog walks, or
okay.
yeah, it's good clean fun stuff, but don't run.
Okay. I like that motto. Stitch that on a pillow. Don't run. Uh,
Yeah.
and then the last question is how do you come back from it? So you said like, it comes back faster than you think. My kind of what I tell people who are a lot of people like hit me up and say like I need a pep talk. I just broke my leg or whatever. And
Yeah.
I'll say like it takes about as long to come back from that as you were off from it. Uh,
Yeah.
so is
Yeah.
that similar for a rest period like this?
Yeah, generally 1 to 1. So 1 week off, 1 week to come back. And we generally recommend athletes ease back into it. Don't restart with VO2 max intervals, just easier zone 2 rides,
Right.
progressive, a couple of zone 2 days, maybe, then ride harder. You can jump back into a group ride, just don't expect to be firing on all cylinders. But yeah, generally after a week, you're G to
I'll
G,
do
ready to go.
So I'll do a little zone two. I kind of feel like I'm doing base training.
Mhm.
And then like if I was doing races, I would go ahead and sign up for a race, but no, it's not gonna be my best, but that'll make me 2, 3 weeks down the road. I'm feeling, back to what I was a month ago, pre-peak, pre-rest, and you're building back up.
The genesis of sweet spot training was just to rebuild your training load even faster. So sweet spot is good. It's advanced aerobic endurance. Zone 2 is good. Just give a couple of weeks until you jump back into like full blown like threshold intervals and
Got it.
VO2s. Yeah.
Beautiful. Beautiful. All right. The hills of Malibu are calling for some sweet spot. All right. Very cool. Thanks a lot for the chat. And yeah, we'll talk soon.
Enjoy your postseason or mid-season break.
Thanks.